is only war.
Hello, Wasteland! Okay, so just before we start, I want to say this, I want to make this nice and clear for you guys. No, this channel is not suddenly changing into a 40k channel. I am not abandoning Gaslands. I am not giving up on the Wasteland. Nothing is changing. This is just a new feature on this channel. So this isn't going to be replacing all my videos with battle reports from now on and 40k lore videos or anything like that. We're still doing Gaslands, we're still doing Wasteland, we're still doing Mad Max, still doing Car of the Month. All of that remains the same. This is just something new that I want to try out. So for all the grognards out there like myself, think about when you used to go on like Warseer, Daka Daka, Dawar, Bolter and Chainsword, and you would look at army blogs, you'd watch people progress with their Space Marine forces and their Orc forces, and you know, they'd make a record of the progress they would make, you know, with their models. This is going to be a lot like that. This isn't going to be purely that. There are going to be tutorials, because ultimately I've discovered there are things that I can show you with a model that I can't necessarily show you with a toy car. And that's fine. That's fine. But considering how much time we all have at home with the old COVID-19 and the fact that hobby stores for the most part are shut, this is a perfect time to be getting forces ready and painting models in preparation for the games that you will have. And that's what this video is going to be about. So this is my first baby steps into Warhammer 40k. So what am I doing? I'm making my first ever Space Marine model in about 15 years. I think it's safe to say it's been about 15 years since I last made a Space Marine model. As you can see from this particularly lovingly painted Ultramarine, I painted him when I think I was about 14, and I'm 29 now, so yeah, 14, 15 years later, here we are. Naturally, I'm not going with Primaris or regular vanilla Marines. I'm going with your boys, the Chaos Space Marine. You know, before this, I used to play Orcs, as some of you may know, and you get tired of only having a 6+ save. You want something that's 3 up or better as standard. So here we are with the Chaos Space Marines. And of the hundreds of different chapters and legions and spin-offs and renegades I could have gone with, I've gone with the Iron Warriors. I've always been an Iron Warriors fanboy. I think it's come from when you line up all the various chapters and you look at all these multicoloured Marines, they're the only ones that really stand out as looking vaguely sensible. You know, it's just gunmetal armour with hazard stripes. They look very industrial, and I like that. So this is going to be an Iron Warriors channel, if you couldn't tell. Your boy Perturabo. And I got into Iron Warriors by reading the books. Tell you the truth, before I even picked up a Chaos Space Marine model, I read the books. Storm of Iron is an absolute classic of a book. Absolutely love it. I'd say it's my favourite Iron Warriors book. But all of the stories in the omnibus and the Honso omnibus are very good. I know there are some spin-off stories or main stories, as it were, with Uriel Ventress of the Ultramarines, also written by Graham McNeil, but I've not ventured into that yet, which is a bit rough, because some of the Honsu books, there are big sort of gaps missing in between them, and I can only imagine they're filled up by those. So, and of course read Perturabo, the Hammer of Olympia, which I think gives the guy a fairer shake than some of the other books he's depicted in. Let's talk about modelling Chaos Space Marines, because the last time I touched a Space Marine was about, 15 years ago. So the models, as a lot of you know, they're a lot bigger now. They've got way more detail. I figured the whole Dark Imperium stuff would be good to get into. Didn't buy the main box set, because honestly I don't have that kind of money to chuck around. But my local hobby store had the sort of the real starter beginner stuff in stock. And during this time, like, if you can, support your local hobby store however you can. Like my guys were able to do, I could drop by the store and pick it up before work. And at the end of the day, a lot of these places, they're going to go out of business, especially now, considering it's coronavirus season. So yeah, if you can support your local hobby stores, do. But you might be looking at it and going, but those are Death Guard, Nurgle Plague Marines. Why would you have those for Iron Warriors? It's just something to start with, if I'm being perfectly honest. The plan is to use good old-fashioned Chaos Space Marines as the Iron Warriors. If I could get Mark III stuff, I would, but that stuff is crazy expensive now that, all the Mark III kits are Forge World only at this point. I mean, they've got them on the GW website, but they don't do the Betrayal at Calth or the Invasion of Prospero sets anymore. And that's a massive shame because those were so good for getting Mark III. And I wish I got at least one of those at the time, but yeah, you live and learn. So my first Chaos Space Marine after all this time. They're super well detailed and they're a lot bigger. Those 32mm bases really do make a big difference when you're looking at it on a table, especially if you compare it to my older models. And yeah, I'm going to do a painting video where I just look at how I paint my miniatures. But I gotta say, there is a wonderful YouTube video, which I will link in the description down below, that I'm basically copying for painting my Iron Warriors. However, painting hazard stripes, don't try and freehand it with a brush. So many people try and do it. I'm going to make a tutorial on how to do hazard stripes using tape because it's so much cleaner and so much better. So many people get these wonky lines from trying to eyeball it. If you've got laser accurate hands, go ahead, but I know I don't. So I use tape like a sensible person. One of the main figures I always seem to avoid doing whenever I start a new force is characters and big models. So it made sense for me with this kit at least, and this starting warband, this starting crusade that I'm going to be making, to make the warlord. I'm taking the big plague, Death Guard Terminator Lord, and I'm going to turn him into an Iron Warrior Lord, mainly by just cutting off that great big banner on his back and replacing with something a bit more Iron Warriors, like the rocket pod off the Sentinel kit. But as you can see, he's come along very nicely. And why not? In this video, let's just do a quick tutorial at the end. You've gotten all this way. Let me show you how to convert his big chain axe thing. Let's turn that into a power hammer. So using some sprue that you can get from the First Strike kit and the No Fear, because all sprues are basically the same. Using 2 bits of sprue, just cut them to roughly, I'd say about a centimetre long, half an inch. It doesn't have to be accurate, but just as long as both pieces are the same. You can snip those off and then use a knife to clean up the edges. Then you want to get one of these sprue support areas. I don't really know what this is called. It's to help separate the sprues while they're in the box, so there's no damage during transit. But it's a wonderful tube shape. We're going to put that in the middle. So snip one of those off and cut that to fit. Then using some plasticard, we're just going to make a couple of end caps, and then to help this look like an actual 40k weapon rather than just something we've cobbled together out of rubbish, I'm taking these what's meant to be like an exhaust on the back of one of the Plague Marines, but I'm going to use it here on either side just to give it that bit of a techno flair, add a bit of detail. So by doing that, all of a sudden it actually looks more like a hammer. And then of course this is 40k, so everything's got to have a skull on it. So slap a skull on there. And there you go, with a couple of rivets. It's a super simple, super easy, anyone could do this way to make a power hammer. And there are other little conversions, other little things I hope to show you guys in these videos. But like I said, this isn't about doing tutorials, this isn't about showing you guys how to paint hazard stripes. This is about me just keeping a log of my Iron Warriors and keeping on top of it. So if that's the kind of thing you enjoy, these videos will be for you. But as I said at the start, this is not replacing my Gaslands content. This is not a drastic change for the channel. I made that Judge Dredd skimmer, that single item trash bash challenge video where I turned a computer mouse into a vehicle for 28mm sci-fi wargaming. So if I can get away with that, I don't think 40k is too much of a stretch. But at the end of the day, if you're not into this, that's fair enough. But as always, thank you guys for watching. The Gaslands UK Car of the Month competition for June is now up on the Facebook page. This time it is sponsored by Mad Cars Green Miniatures, and being the lovely sponsors that they are, there is 3 prizes as usual for first, second and third, and this competition is open to everyone. You don't have to be UK based to win this competition. So if wherever you are in the world, members of the Gaslands community, if you want to get involved in this month's competition, do so. There is no restrictions. The theme is a superhero build, but that doesn't mean it has to be like a Superman car or an Iron Man car. It can be whatever you want, so check that out. And as always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode. This has been the first ever episode of the Iron Warriors Army blog or something. I'll come up with a name. And goodbye.